thank you so much for having me at the Out of Chicago conference. It was a great experience, and I want to thank Chris Smith and his team. They put on an incredible event. All right, so here are the final products or the final portraits that we created using a Lightroom preset that we'll give you, along with Perfectly Clear. So here are the ones that we finished, and let me show you how I actually created it. So I'm going to get rid of these, and let's just select a few of them. Now, our buddy Seth here, we'll start with him. His was the easiest one to create because he was my test subject. So the light was exactly designed strictly for him. So if I come over here and I click on my Lightroom preset, boom, out of the box, look how great that looks. Now we could take it just one step further. So let's undo this. Now, you don't have to have Perfectly Clear to get the exact look that we're going for, but it's going to require for you to do a little more work inside Lightroom. So let's fire up Perfectly Clear. I'm going to edit in Photoshop. Once Photoshop comes up, there's two schools of thoughts here. For Seth's image, he doesn't have any blemishes or any hot spots you have to worry about, so I'm not going to make this a smart object. Instead, I'm going to come over to the filters, click on Perfectly Clear, and then from here, I already created a preset called Out of Chicago for men, and I made an Out of Chicago for women. So I'm going to click on it, and what that's doing for me right now is it's searching for his eyes, and it's going to enhance the eyes, smooth the skin, and it's going to add a little more exposure to the image itself. Now, because he's wearing glasses, this particular image gave Perfectly Clear a little trouble. So what we're going to do is actually detect his face. So I'm going to manually select his left eye and then his right eye. Now that I have it, click Apply, and Perfectly Clear finds it. So now I'm going to come over here, and these settings itself, I'm going to include this preset for you, so you don't need to write these down. But all I'm doing is increasing the exposure just a touch, add a little bit more depth to the color. Then I came down here, because he's a big, strong man, I'm not going to smooth his skin out like I would for a female. So I'm going to apply just a little lightening or a little smoothing to his skin. And then for his eyes, I want to make sure I work on the enhancing of them. So before and after, just a little extra it adds. Hit apply, and now I have it. Save it, and once I save it, I'm going to go back into Lightroom, and here we are. Now I'm going to apply that preset again. Out of Chicago Men, and boom. It just gave me that little extra push that I really wanted. So we have Chris's done, or I'm sorry, Seth's done. Now let's go on to let's go to Christopher. All right, so we want to enhance this a little bit more. So you have to do preparation ahead of time. From here, what I want to do is come to the development module, and I want to add a gradient. And I created a simple gradient called lower fade. And all I'm really doing here is dragging the exposure to the left, so it's a minus value. And I just want to bring it up because I want it to have accent on him and not on his lower body. So that looks good there. I'm going to click on the adjustment brush again. And this time I'm going to select a dodging. And what I want to do is just bring out the camera just a little bit. And let's say his face just a touch. There. If you hit the letter O for overlay, you'll see exactly where you painted. If I were to run the Perfectly Clear or the Lightroom preset, it looks there. It just looks okay. You know, it's not smooth. It's not everything here. It's not perfect. Now the reason for that is, again, we set all the lights up for Seth, not for Christopher. If we were doing this shoot, and I thought we were just doing tutorials for it, but I didn't realize we were photographing everyone. I would have the assistants constantly move the lights up and down. So this way we have a perfect lighting setup for each individual person. So here we are with Christopher. I'm going to edit in Photoshop again. Once Photoshop fires up, I'm going to check out and look for any things I can fix before I go into perfectly clear. So I'm going to look around here. Here's a couple areas here that grit look is going to really accentuate. So we want to fix that real quick. Right mouse click, create a smart object. Now by creating a smart object, this is going to allow perfectly clear to be a smart filter. So I double click on the smart object and it opens up a copy, and I just want to fix this up here. Now watch this, it's real easy. Creating a blank layer, grabbing the eyedropper tool, I'm going to sample the color right around the area. Grab a brush tool, going at about 20% opacity. All I want to do here is lightly paint over the areas like this, just to make them blend in a little bit. Good. I like that. We're going to fix this area here. So grab the eyedropper tool again, select an area here, and let's paint in. Good. Now it's looking pretty good. I'll show you before and after. So here's before. Here's after. Now here's the trick. What we need to do is add noise to bring back some of the texture of the skin. Then we're going to add Gaussian blur to blur in or make it blend in with the rest of the skin. And there we have it. Now we take the opacity and slowly dial it in to where it blends better. Right about there, that's good. Great. Save it. Now I can go in to the original. Here we are. And let's run perfectly clear. Now keep in mind, perfectly clear isn't just for portraits. It's great for landscapes, and it's great for like street photography. It adds sharpness to images. It makes the blues blues and the purples purple. It also adds a little bit more the exposure of the overall image itself. It balances it out, and it adds a lot of sharpness to the image itself. All right, so here we are. Now, if you notice, it already added or applied the preset because it takes the last one that we just did, and I hit apply. Done. Save it. Now, right when I save it, we're going to come back into Lightroom. And now let's apply that out of Chicago Men again. And boom. Now it added just the right amount. Now what I want to do is this. I still want to add a little bit of lightening to his face here. A little bit more to the camera. Great. And we're set. All right. Now that's great for the guys. Now let's check out what it's going to do for the girls. Here's a photo of Heather. Again, let's do a little cleanup before we actually get into it. I want to come down and drag this up. And I'm going to apply that little lower fade. Good. That's it. Now notice we do have some hot spots up here. Let's see. All right, we're set. Edit in, Photoshop. Once again, we'll create a smart object. And then double click. Now we open it up to the original. And let's fix this hotspot. Select. Good, we got the color. And slowly come across. Good. So just slowly keep going over it at 20%. Got it. Resample some of the color down here. Good. That looks good. And again, before and after. Great. Now, let's add a little bit of noise and a little bit of Gaussian blur. Good. Dial it down and bring it back. Right about there. Great. Save it. And now we're back to our smart object. Filter. Athentech perfectly clear. Now this time, when it comes up, instead of using the man or the Out of Chicago for men, let's use the woman. There we go. Before and after. Let's check to make sure it clicked the eyes properly. Great. It's very, very close. Awesome. And apply. Save it. And let's go back into Lightroom. And now we're going to apply Out of Chicago for women. Look how easy that was. So again, we can still do it just using Lightroom. It just means that we have to go in here, fix any blemishes we see, enhance the eyes, smooth out the skin, and then apply that preset. But once again, if we use Perfectly Clear, it does all the heavy lifting for us. Create a smart object. Double click. Here we are in the original. Now, again, so this is how I would do it if I'm not using Perfectly Clear. I would just go around, because with that preset that we're creating, we're taking a beautiful image, and what we're really doing to it is we're adding a lot of structure with it with clarity. And by doing that, any little blemish whatsoever is going to appear massive. Good. We have a little hotspot. Create a new layer. Sample the color. And paint over the hotspot. If, like in this case here, if I went a little over, just grab the eraser tool and just erase out any of the areas that you may have accidentally hit. There we go. And then once again, add a little noise and a little Gaussian blur. Save it. Let's come back into Photoshop here, or the original, and I'm going to apply Perfectly Clear again. Beautiful. It took the last preset that we used, which was women, and it applied it to her. Apply, and save. Good, let's go back into Lightroom. And once again, for the development module, let's apply Out of Chicago for women. And there we have it. Now, again, once it's done, you can go back through. And if you feel it's a little too hot on her face, come back over here and maybe add just a little darkening to her face. Or bring the exposure down a bit. If you were to do that, make sure you go back to the eyes. And since we added the exposure to it, I'm going to press the Alt key on a PC, Option on a Mac, and I'm going to paint out the effect over the eyes. Press keyboard shortcut O, and you'll see exactly what you're painting in, or what you're painting out. And we're set. There it is. So, guys, again, having the proper lighting, like we did over here with Seth, and then applying the grit look to it, or adding the extra structure to it, is going to take an average photo and just make it pop. Hey, guys, thanks again. I'm Vinelli. If you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to drop me an email, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Thanks again.